same kind of corrupt incentives aren't at play somewhere. I've become, also just beyond this, I've become really concerned that homelessness is becoming such a problem. It's becoming a huge problem here in D.C. I've lived in Washington, D.C. for 7 years, and the number of tents, of sort of makeshift shanty towns in all the public green spaces in the city, I think we've talked about it off camera, it's gotten so bad in the last 2 years.
It's definitely growing. That's for sure, and it's growing at the same pace that housing prices are accelerating, and so you have this entire complex that is the edifice is intellectual, social, governmental, that attempts to deal with homelessness as if it's disconnected from housing prices. They say, well, there must be substance abuse issues here. There must be mental health issues here. We need more wraparound services, and we're going to employ these nonprofits that we're going to funnel millions of dollars to deploy these services to help people get back into.
He's got that right. Millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Housing, but that's not. All of that's great. People need wraparound services. People need social services for sure. But in states where housing costs aren't as staggeringly high, you don't have the homelessness problem that you have in states where it is. And nobody would pretend to argue that substance abuse issues are worse in Washington, D.C. or New Orleans or Los Angeles or San Francisco than they are in Mississippi or Alabama or.
I don't think that's true. And also, cities are magnets, especially these democratic cities, for people that know that the services are there, or so-called services, or whatever you call them. So that's what's happening, is people are not stupid. They go to where the food is, where the housing is, or I don't think these guys live in New York City. They seem to know very little about New York City. There's literally food lines and bread lines and public housing and public everything. Public, and it's very clear that the Democratic Party benefits from that, right? Because people blindly vote Democrat here. So I'm not sure what these guys are talking about, but they don't live in New York City, that's for sure.
Or West Virginia, that no one would argue. People who are unable to make the numbers work for themselves at the end of every month are more likely to have substance abuse issues or mental health issues or both.
Right.
And then so people look at that and say, well, clearly the homeless people, the unhoused, have mental health issues and substance abuse issues. Therefore, it's those issues that is causing them to be without housing. And I understand why people would think that, but no, that's not what it is. Those people in an environment where housing was more affordable would be able to afford housing.
Yeah, because we're talking about the people at the margins, right? People
those
at the border.
Just listen to this.
We're going to recriminalize poverty and homelessness.
Criminalize
and you're going to find
poverty.
that enough voters like, you know what, fine.
Right.
And then they'll just
and then it goes wrong, and then there's some blowback to it when there'll be some police officer roughing up a homeless person on tape, and then there'll be a march and a protest, and we'll go back to ignoring the problem, and that's not the right way to do it. Right? I don't want it. Right? I don't want an aggressive police dealing with this.
Because you don't solve the structural problem.
You don't solve the structural problem.
Displace it elsewhere.
Right, and it's messy. It's people get hurt that way too. We don't want that. But it has to be dealt with because it is a problem.
And these aren't the only people hurt by high housing prices. They're the ones that are most visible as people are walking around the city. But it's hurting everybody who is having a hard time either buying a home or affording rent. It's just sucking all of the disposable income and then some out of what people are making month to month.
Liberals who are feel-good type people who are sad about the condition of the homelessness need to vote for politicians who will allow building of new housing, and even if it's next to your favorite antique historical diner or something, nope, we're going to bulldoze that and put up a 20-foot apartment building. Sorry, that's what
20 foot. I don't think he knows what he's saying. Also, I mean, maybe it means 20-story. And also, this is the Love Me, I'm a Liberal, Capitol Hill people talking about New York City with no knowledge whatsoever about New York City. I asked them, have you ever stepped foot in New York City? Have you lived in New York City even one day? Peace out.